Are you already recording? Let me see.
Good to go.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start. Let's see here. This is Geoffrey Cravero, and with me is Diana Dizon. I'm conducting an oral history with David Tossie. The interview is being connected via Zoom on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Mr. Tossie, thank you for speaking with us today. Would you begin by stating your name and telling us a bit about where you're from and what life was like for you growing up?
My name is David Tossie. You can say Tossie, either way, it doesn't matter. All right, part of my family says Tossie, some say Tossie. I am from Oviedo. I was born in Oviedo, Florida, 1954, at a doctor's office, Dr. Stoner's office, right in downtown Oviedo. I attended school at Jackson Heights Elementary School from 1960 to 1967. And that was when, it's 1967 is when integration was full blown, and it was freedom of choice. You could choose to go to Croons and Sanford or choose to go to Oviedo High School. And I chose to go to Oviedo High School.
I forgot. That's all the times I've done this. I always forget to do that. Could you please describe your experience attending Jackson Heights Elementary Colored School, and what are some of the memories that stand out to you?
Well, just going to school was a big excitement because I had two sisters, had four siblings in front of me that had gone to school in Oviedo, but two that had gone to Jackson Heights. And they would come on with all these stories and everything, so I was excited to go. My first grade year, I remember catching mumps or measles. I can't remember what it was, but you know, when I caught that, I was home for a week. And my teacher, my first grade teacher, just happened to be my next door neighbor. So instead of me missing all the schoolwork, she brought my homework home to me every day. So that wasn't fun, but it was all right. All through the school, I had good friends. I walked to school. My aunt was one of the bus drivers for the school. I think we had two buses that went to Jackson Heights. And my Aunt Gladys Ingram was one of the bus drivers, and Dolphus Carwise was the other bus driver. We had probably around 400 students. My first grade class was 2 classrooms. And I think every other class was, I can remember all my teachers from first grade through the 7th grade. And all of my friends, some friends I still have those friends for life. So we still see each other and still communicate with each other.
Did you have a favorite teacher, and what qualities did he or she bring to the classroom?
Well, I guess as you progress, I guess in first grade, my favorite teacher was my first grade teacher because she's my next door neighbor and I knew her. Our second grade teacher was real good, Mrs. Curtis, I think her name was. My third grade teacher was another neighbor and my best friend's mother. So she was pretty good, but she was real strict. And since she knew me, you know, she was real strict on me. My fourth grade teacher was a lady from another town, but she was close. Jamestown is where it was. We always thought she was mean, but she was a good lady, but we always thought she was mean because we were little kids. Fifth and sixth grade, I had the same teacher, a man. That was my first male teacher, and we thought he was great because we did a lot of different things with him. So we kept him for 2 years. And then my 7th grade teacher, Mr. Wright, was a teacher. That was when we started changing classes too. We would go from science to English to math and different things like that. And all the classes, we always had recess. We didn't have any physical education class, no special classes at all. We did have recess though.
Many schools in Central Florida were still considered segregated over a decade after the Brown versus Board of Education decision. You'd
Yes.
go on to attend Oviedo High School during a period of racial integration. Do you remember what that first day was like? And would you share some of your memories of your high school experience?
It was different. That was my 8th grade school year, and I had seen the school. It was within walking distance of me. I had never been on that campus before, and I had seen it. I'd been around it or whatever, but never walked on that campus, never been in any of the classes. Some of the students that were there I had seen before, and later on I found that their names were familiar because at Jackson Heights, we wouldn't get new books. We would get their old books with their names in them. And so that was strange. You know, it was all right then because it was new to us, but once I got up there, it felt kind of strange because we wouldn't get the new books, we would get the old books. But it was different. I was put in classes that had mostly Black kids, and probably, and I don't know if this is right now, but probably the poorest of the white kids were in the classes that I had. And my first day in English class, I remember this very well. A guy behind me, white guy, I didn't know him, but I knew his uncle because my dad and his uncle worked together on the farm. And he was sitting behind me and he put me on the shoulder and told me what his name was and said hello. Very nice guy. And I knew him until he passed away about 3 or 4 years ago, but he was a good friend of mine all those years. And so, and then I got some new friends too, but there was some controversy or some tension at the school because a lot of the white people didn't want us up there. And our parents would tell us before we left the house to be careful, to go to your class, do your work. One of the things my mother told me was not to touch a white girl, so make sure I stay away from them because you get hung by that, and stuff like that. So I did all that. One day, one of my friends the school was a 3-story school. It was where Lawton Elementary School is now. It was Oviedo High School. One of my friends had an art class and he had brought some scissors to school. This is the story I got. And I don't know the real story of it, but this story I got. He brought some scissors to school and some white guys saw him upstairs, and he was kind of a big guy, so they were going to jump him. And it ended up that he beat all 3 of them up, and he got sent to the office and got suspended from school. And they said they suspended him because he had scissors, so. And then there was another fight in the girls' bathroom where another girl, Black girl, was in there, and a girl called her the N-word. I guess they must have bumped into each other or something, so she called her the N-word. And the girl hit her in the nose, and I was just happened to be passing by the hallway in the bathroom, girl's bathroom, when the girl ran out. And I remember her screaming and hollering that N just hit her in the nose, and so the hallway was always crowded and everything. But it was the next day, I think a lot of parents showed up, mainly white parents. I don't think any of the Black parents showed up. But you could hardly walk on the school campus because of all those people that were there. And we didn't know what was going on. We had heard stuff about KKK and all that stuff, but we had never seen anyone, but they didn't have on any robes or anything, but they were there. And I still to this day don't know why they were there, but there was a lot of people there, and it was sort of scary, but we got over that and ended up having some good white friends and Black friends, and some of them I still know today.
You'd go on to become an educator yourself. How did your formative experiences in Oviedo shape your desires to become an educator? And what were some of the differences once you were an educator versus a student in your experience?
Strange thing about that, when I was in the 8th grade, that first year up there, the PE teacher was a basketball coach, and he was assigned to teach the high schools and the middle schools, but I guess the principal had him to take out the elementary kids also. And so he asked me and another guy if I would come over there, and he talked to the teachers, I guess, and got us excused and had me take the kids out to the playground for him. And so I guess that sort of got me into that mode. And so during all of those years, I guess just watching what the teachers do. And I was a basketball player at school, in high school. And so when I went to college, I had no expectations of becoming a teacher. I just wanted to make sure I got into college, and then I was going to think about it when I got there. But I did get into college, and I played basketball. And after my junior year is when I decided to become an educator. And so it was just all of the basketball coaches, the teachers treated me good up at Oviedo High School. And I got along well with just about everyone. So it wasn't any big influence over anything. I had a lot of cousins that were teachers and educators, and maybe that did too, but it was just a progressive thing.
The oral history that you're giving us today is going to be archived in the Oviedo Colored Schools Museum. What are your hopes for that museum?
Well, I would hope that it grows and that everyone, people in the future will see what happened, because a lot of times, I guess today's people are trying to push a lot of history down and not try to remember it. But I think we should remember our history, because if we don't know where we came from, we don't know where we're going. I know that I grew up in Oviedo, and it was poor, and we lived in a one-bedroom house. My parents were not educated. My mother went to sixth grade, which is probably equivalent to maybe third grade nowadays. My dad, I never saw him or heard him read anything, but I did see him sign his name on his checks. So we were not a upper class or middle class people. You know, they went to work early and they came home late. They worked for other people. And so I just want people to know that Oviedo was a pretty good place to live. There was prejudice here. I've heard about it. You know, I saw some of it, but not much. And I knew, you knew what and what not to do. But I would like for people in the future to just know that things are not just like it is today, but it was worse than it was. And people need to know that. Some people they don't want their children to know how bad people were treated, but it should be known.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add or expand on? Do you have any final thoughts for us?
Well, I did write some stuff down to remember. I told you about my homework teacher, my homework in first grade. And we also did a lot of things with the Bible in elementary schools. Our principal would come on the intercom every morning and say a prayer. And then he would tell everybody to have a good day and everything. We would have a Bible teacher that would come. I don't know if it was once a week or once a month, or I can't remember. But that Bible teacher was a white lady. And she would come there and we would all assemble in the auditorium, and she would do Bible lessons, and she would have this felt board. I remember this very vividly. A felt board with things that with people that she would stick on that board, and then she would give the story and tell us, and she would sing some songs and things. We had a music teacher, and she would do Christian music, hymns and things like that. We would sing those things. We would, in the classrooms, our teachers would have prayer. We would sing a song about Get Thee Behind Me, Satan, every morning before we started our classes. I remember all the girls were always taller than me in elementary school, and then when we got in 8th grade or something, I sort of passed them up. I loved the carnivals that we would have. It would be a PTA sponsored thing, I guess. And they would have a little booth, and parents would make food, and they would have gifts, and you would go to these different booths and try to play things. And they would have I remember this truck that looked like a train that you could get on there for a certain amount of money, and then they would ride you downtown Oviedo and then back to Jackson Heights. And it looked like a train, but it was a truck. Recess was good because, like I say, we didn't have regular physical education classes, but we had recess, and our teachers would take us outside and they would play little games with us, and then we would go to the playground and play that. The parent participation was real good at PTA. When you go to a PTA meeting, it would be crowded. And I was in education for 35 years. And I don't think I've ever been to a crowded PTA meeting unless it was a show or something that the children were doing. Like I say, my siblings always looked up to them. And the bad thing about having two girls in front of you is that if you get the same teacher, they expect you to excel like they did. And I wasn't doing that. So it was a little different. And like I said, I've got friends that I met before elementary school and in elementary school, and I've had those friends for life. And the status of the students out there were different. There were most of the people out there were poor. There were maybe 2 or 3 families that had exceeded. You know, we had some students that their parents were teachers, some students that their parents had gone to college, but not that many. Most of them worked in the field, and they worked for other people, and they were just like us, you know. So there wasn't a big status difference in anyone, and that's about it. Any questions?
No, that was fantastic. Thanks. Mr. Tossie, thank you again for sharing your time and speaking with us. This has been Geoffrey Cravero with Diana Dizon on November 8th, 2022.